Hello, everybody. We are just about ready to get rolling, just seeing everyone kind of jumping in. So please, as we wait for everyone to get here, maybe tell us where you're at. How many pets do you have? What kind? Let's just get a little chat going to warm us up here. And I can start because I am in Thunder Bay in Northern Ontario. And at the moment, because I foster dogs, there are 6 of them. So apologies, although they are contained, but they are here. So where are you all from? And cats or dogs? We did an event in Scottsdale somewhat recently. Dog sitting, nice. Bernedoodles, big dogs. I actually, one of my dogs, I think is gonna, I'm worried it has hip dysplasia. I think Bernedoodles have that too. So I think they could easily, the long dogs. Boston, Texas. Oh, Bichon and Shih Tzu. Feral cats, though, that's a unique one. They need help. They need love too. Oh, that's fun. Boston and Boston, but now Florida. Nice. If you're just joining us, we're chatting about where you're from and dogs or cats, or how many pets do you have? And we'll probably get started in just a quick minute here. It looks like there's still people jumping in, but it's one of those things we try to start on time as best we can. We give you a lot of information in an hour. All right. A pug mama. Oh, I love pugs. All right. Well, I'm going to get us officially started here. So hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our Work of Design live webinar by Studio Designer. If you're new here, Studio Designer is the leading platform for interior design businesses, helping designers manage projects, finances, and client relationships all in one place. The Work of Design live webinar series brings you expert insights, real-world strategies, and inspiring conversations to help you grow and thrive in the business of design. So I'm Helena Stevens, can't even say my own name properly, part of the Studio Designer team. And today we're excited to welcome 2 incredible speakers. First, we have Brooke Stoll, a strategic business consultant for interior designers. With nearly a decade of experience in the industry, Brooke specializes in optimizing people, processes, and profitability to help firms scale with confidence. She's passionate about empowering designers to achieve sustainable growth without sacrificing creativity or quality. Joining her is Dalia Souls, founder of Design Assisted. Dalia leads an innovative project management company for interior designers, combining strategic acumen with creative vision. Known for her organizational expertise and ability to leverage technology, she's helped countless firms streamline operations and set new standards of efficiency. Together, Brooke and Dalia will guide us through today's topic, how interior designers can leverage systems, software, and strategy to create financial stability. Whether you're a solo designer or running a growing firm, you'll gain practical frameworks for building stability from the inside out. As always, we have a Q&A session at the end, so drop your questions into the Q&A box anytime during the presentation. And don't worry if you need to step away, the session is being recorded and will be sent to all registrants afterwards. So we're thrilled to have everyone with us today. Let's dive in. Brooke and Dalia, over to you.
Thank you. All right.
I'll share the screen here. So just get the IT out of the way. There we go.
All right, we are so excited to be here today. I'm working at my screened-in porch. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. Hi, Lori. I saw you're here. And it is finally starting to feel like fall here. Thankfully, we are through the deep humidity, if you know North Carolina weather. But we are so excited to chat with you guys today. This is something that Dalia and I are so extremely passionate about, is helping interior designers create stability in their firms through systems, software, and strategy, and especially financial and operations stability. Times are weird right now, guys, right? Like the economy has been weird this last year. Now, to give you some hope, I had 2 different conversations, 2 different firms yesterday in 2 different regions of the country. Things are starting to pick back up, which is great. But we do have a lot of firms that are having a lot of success right now. And the consistent theme we're seeing amongst those firms is they have created stability in their firms, right? So Dalia and I were talking about how do we get this knowledge? How do we share the work that we do with our one-to-one clients with more people. Dalia came up with this amazing idea. We shared it with Studio, and they are just as passionate about helping firms create stability as we are. So we are so excited to chat with you guys today, and let's dive in.
Yeah, so thank you for that wonderful intro, Helena. My name is Dalia Stoll, and I am the founder of Design Assisted. We are a project management company that services interior designers. So essentially, we help you get the work done while also helping you to scale your business.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm Brooke. I'm an operations and profitability strategist dedicated to helping interior designers get out of the weeds and build wildly successful design firms. So I serve as a fractional COO to many of my clients, partnering with them to optimize operations, strengthen their team, and drive lasting profitability. So my focus is really on transforming the back end of the business so my clients have the clarity, capacity, and confidence to do their highest level creative work. So they get to stay in their creative zone.
We are so happy that you're here. So to dive into our presentation, the first thing that we're going to do is something that's like a little bit woo-woo. We want you to close your eyes and envision what your dream business is, right? This is going to look different for everyone. For some of you, you may want to have kind of a smaller operation and maybe have a couple of employees or no employees at all. And others of you have dreams of world domination. You want a very large firm with offices all over the country, and you just want to completely take over the world with your beautiful and amazing work. So, we want to do this exercise because success is going to look different for everyone. So if you want to just close your eyes and envision what that looks like to you, we'll just take, 20 seconds to do this together.
Yeah, and I always like to say too, if you're struggling to think about this, think about what you want your days to look like. When you wake up in the morning, do you want to go into an office, into a studio with lots of people? Do you want to go into a studio with 2 people? Do you want to work from home? Do you want to work from France, right? Like, what does your day look like? I think as entrepreneurs, we have such a beautiful ability to create businesses that support our personal lives. So what does your ideal life look like, both personally and professionally? And kind of helping to define what success looks like to you, so you have a lot of confidence and clarity when you're scaling your firm.
Yeah, so you can go ahead and open your eyes if you close them. So as we talk over the next 30 minutes, we want you to ask yourself, what we're showing you and what you need to do in your business. Do these things align with your version of success? We want you to have clarity. That is the number one goal here today, is to have clarity in your business, in your life in general. Okay, diving in. So I'm going to start off by walking you through what you need in order to create stability in your business. Some of these tips are going to be things that you already know, right? So if you are brand new in business, these are just great tips to have. If you are more seasoned in business, then these are tips to help you figure out what you need to audit in your business and possibly even refine in your processes. So we'll dive into the systems that you need in order to create stability in your business. All right, number 1, the most obvious one, bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is so important. It's of the highest priority because it's going to help you keep track of your funds and also give you the data that you need in order to have a strong, clear path to growth. For anyone who, uses a bookkeeper, we always say it's really important, depending on which program you're using, which project management program you're using, that you have a bookkeeper that knows your program. So if you're using Studio Designer, then you should really be working with someone who knows Studio Designer in and out. And if you are using with a program that has an API integration with QuickBooks, then you want someone who is an absolute QuickBooks whiz. And if anyone here has a bookkeeper that they absolutely love and they don't mind sharing, please drop their name in the chat because, sharing is caring.
Yeah. And if you are like, oh, I maybe need to look at my bookkeeper, I maybe need to think about who I should be working with, Studio Designer has a great partners list they can share. And then Dalia and I also work with a few, what we like to call them our A-team bookkeepers. And if anybody wants to reach out to us after, we'd be happy to share their information. But if there is one hire, you should be extremely confident in your business. It's your bookkeeper. They should be extremely proactive and knowledgeable with the system that you're in.
Absolutely. All right, moving into task organization. I'm so passionate about this. Organization is my love language in general. But something that I find when I speak to interior designers daily is a lot of you are keeping tasks inside of your head, right? You have this really long to-do list, or you're using Post-it notes and putting them all over the place. And many of you are actually really great at knowing what needs to get done, checking it off your mental list. But if you have a team, or you want to have a team, or you even just want to outsource to someone someday, then leaving it in your head is a recipe for absolute chaos. So we want to get you in the habit, even if you are a solopreneur, you're doing this on your own, we want you to get in the habit of having an actual physical checklist. And whether that's notepad and paper, or on your iPad, or in a program that I personally love, which is ClickUp. Brooke loves to use Basecamp. It doesn't matter what it is. We just want you to get in the habit of writing down those tasks and organizing them.
Yeah, I think project management systems are so personal, and this is different from your invoicing system. So a project management system is truly a task and delegation system, and a lot of them also can house client communication, but a lot of them also house like interpersonal communication between you and your team. And they're all very different. I find personally that designers that have more of a corporate background usually do better with an Asana or ClickUp, and then designers that have been more entrepreneurial their whole life usually I find have more success in Basecamp. But it really depends. It's very personal. And drop it in the chat if you're using any of those systems we just mentioned, or another one that you love. And if you're like, I have no idea where to start, shoot Dalia and I a message. We love helping people figure out what system's right for them.
Yeah, we're kind of nerds about it. Okay. Time tracking. So time tracking should be done by every single interior designer, even if you are charging a flat rate. Okay. Let that sink in, because tracking your time is going to help you understand your true margins. So I personally love Harvest. It has a Google Chrome plugin, so I can just really quickly click on it, clock in, clock out. My entire team uses it. And it also has an app on your phone, so you can very easily access it. You can go in and edit. It's wonderful. Studio also has a great time tracker as well. So I'm wondering if anyone here is using their Studio tracker, if anyone, needs help figuring it out. Time tracking is just so absolutely important. And it's the thing that tends to go by the wayside alongside that task organization, right? We're keeping it all in our head along with the time tracking, and we're going back and we're saying, I think I spent 20 minutes on this. You spent an hour. So it's good to have that data and know where you're spending your time.
Yeah, time tracking should not be a task. It should be something that you do consistently as part of your process. And if the time tracker that you're currently using feels like a task, you're not using the right time tracker.
Exactly. Okay, moving into time and team. So our goal here is going to help you to use your time more efficiently and build the right kind of support. So I'm going to talk a little bit about an org chart, which sounds super duper boring, but it's really important. Again, even if you're a solopreneur interior designer, you need to write down every single department that's within your company. So this could be sales, design, operations, procurement, marketing, even. So if you are a solopreneur, you are going to write your name in every single one of those boxes, right? So this is going to give you a perspective into everything that your business needs and everything that you are doing. And if you're a team, obviously you're going to write your project manager's name, your bookkeeper's name. This is also going to help with developing job descriptions. If everybody kind of knows their role, then things just run smoother because it gives you clarity, and it's just great at communicating what you need to your team later on.
And Dalia, if people feel completely overwhelmed by creating an org chart, I think you have one you'd mentioned that you wouldn't mind sharing with people,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, exactly. So I have a few examples of org charts for interior design firms that I would be happy to share. So just shoot me an email.
And then one other person also asked, what do you think of Google Workspace for task organization? I have only seen one person use Google Workspace for tasks specifically, and they had kind of built their own system within it, and it worked pretty well for them. I always say that if there's not friction, you don't need to make a change. So if there's friction, you want to make a change. But if there's not friction, it's working great for you, then keep on doing what's working. There's no need to introduce a new system if things are working well and there's no friction. I don't know if you have any experience with that, Dalia.
I don't, not with Google Workspace. I mean, we use Google Drive for everything within our company, but we also use basically whatever our clients are using, we'll figure out how to use it. For us, the number one thing that we're looking for task management is communication. So again, if you're on your own and you're writing down your own tasks, it's probably good enough. But when you bring someone on, you want to be able to convey information to them quickly without having to interrupt them from what they're doing, right? What we do a lot of times requires deep work, and you don't want to distract your project manager while they're in the middle of purchasing hundreds of items to ask them a question about a completely different project. So, we kind of want to compartmentalize that. So this org chart exercise is also going to help you figure out what you need to outsource and what you need to hire for, right? You've got your names in all those little boxes, or maybe you have a team and your name's still going in a lot of those boxes, right? You're handling marketing, you're handling sales, you're handling admin. So this is going to help you figure out, what do I need to outsource? And then I want you to identify what is going to generate revenue and what is going to be more or less a business expense. So your bookkeeper, right? Your bookkeeper is usually considered a business expense because you can't always bill back for what they do. There are ways to bill back for what they do, and this is something that Brooke, I think, has a lot of experience with. But generally speaking, they are going to be a business expense that you need to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think when you are billing a bookkeeper, considering you're hourly, they're taking over some of the tasks that a project manager might traditionally do. So like recording money in, money out, and studio designer on POs, or maybe reconciling and stuff on actual POs for actual client expenses. And then also doing your monthly time billing. If they're doing that, that might be billable. It all depends on how your firm's structured. But usually when I see bookkeepers are billable, they're in between like 10 to 50% billable. But it definitely depends on your firm and if you bill hourly or flat fee. But that's something I definitely dig in with my clients of, is the bookkeeper going to be billable? What rate? All of that.
So your project manager should always be billable, right? You should be able to charge a markup on the time that they're spending, because this is going to, again, give you back your time. And it's going to allow you to go out and do the other things inside of that org chart that you need to take care of. So examples of things that a project manager can do, Brooke already kind of touched on that a little bit, but, putting together proposals, getting pricing, ordering CFAs, reserving fabric, just all of those little things that really add up. You should be charging for your project manager's time for sure. Okay, admin assistant. So if you don't have a team, then you're probably your own admin assistant, right? You're opening your own accounts, you're ordering samples, you're answering the phone. So it's important to keep track of these tasks, because later on, if you decide to bring on an admin, whether that's a virtual assistant or someone in-house, then you want to be able to figure out what their tasks are going to be. I always say, I've always been really good at being an assistant in my past. And when it came time to have an assistant, it was kind of hard because I was doing all of those things. I was doing it pretty seamlessly, but I needed to let go of those tasks in order to be able to sell in my business and lead my team. So, taking stock of what needs to be done. And you can also, while you're writing out their job description, kind of decide if there are some revenue generating tasks that they can take on, whether it's ordering samples, reserving those fabric orders, just some things here and there that they can take on where you can still buy back some of your time.
Dalia, we got a really good question, and I
Yeah.
think this was more for the chat, but I want to address it, Mary, because I like this. Mary asked, how does everyone stay on top of what they order online / keeping everyone else in the loop on what has been ordered for each project? This is Dalia and her team's Total Zone of Genius. So I wanted to make sure that you could address that.
Yeah, so this goes back to task organization because it's not just task organization that we keep inside of ClickUp. We actually have a pretty robust tracking system that we've created inside of ClickUp. And this is kind of controversial, right? Because, we'll use Studio Designer and all of the other programs, but a lot of times we'll have to take some of that information and put it into ClickUp because ClickUp is going to allow us to tag each other, and look, you can do this inside of Studio Designer because they actually have a really great labeling system and notes and comments. For me, I need a notification. I need a notification inside of my inbox that's like, hey, Chauncey on your team needs to get a hold of you because she needs to know an answer to something. This holds me accountable. Again, going back to that task organization, it gives me a list of things to do and things to check off. So again, like going back to what Brooke said, if it works for you, you got to figure out what is going to work for you and for your system. If you are completely solo, you can work inside of your project management system, create those labels, really track it that way, like get to know the system that you're using. And if it's more beneficial for you to export that somewhere else, then do that as well. And I personally don't think it's double work because you're putting all that information in and then you're taking less of that information and putting it out. Oh, and sorry, part of that question was, how do you, I think it was like, how do you show your clients that information?
Keep everyone else in the loop on what has been ordered for each project. So that seems more internal to me, like what's been ordered.
Yeah.
And my answer to that would be POs, but interested your answer as well.
Yeah, POs alongside, everything else, but like a purchase order, you can't leave a comment on it, right? I want to know, yeah, sure, it's been ordered. Has it been acknowledged? Has it been paid for? Is it at the receiving warehouse? Does it have a back order? Those are just things that we need to communicate with each other. And especially for us, because we're not inside of your office. But, and then there's a whole other way that you can show your client if you want to keep them abreast of the information, but not give them all of the information. And that can be done in ClickUp as well. And I think there's a way to do it in Studio also. Okay, so we were talking about admin assistant, and something really important to note here too is that if you do have a position that is kind of seen more as an expense, you also need to keep in mind that it is still an additional revenue stream because it's freeing up your time and allowing you to go out and sell and bring in new business. Okay, automation, another favorite word of mine. So long before AI came on the scene, I figured out ways to automate as much as I possibly could. So, when funds are tight and you don't have any new projects coming in, your first hire does not have to be a person. It can be a program, it can be a system, something like Dubsado. I know some people use Honeybooks. Something that I personally do whenever someone puts information into my intake form, an email is automatically sent to them. It's warm, it's inviting, it asks them to schedule a phone call, and then that way we can connect. But it's connected to my calendar. I'm not spending all day, trying to schedule things with people. At the beginning of Design Assisted, I was spending so much time doing that, and I know some of you are as well. It's such a time saver. It really, really can help, especially when you can't outsource those things.
Yeah, my admin assistant is Dubsado. So it's a system. If you're not familiar with Dubsado, it's a CRM, which stands for Customer Relations Manager, right? So when times are tough and we need to create stability in our business, we need to make sure we're using our time towards the most revenue generating activities. Me sending my clients invoices, sending invoice reminders, scheduling, reminding them to fill out a questionnaire, sending them a questionnaire. Part of my whole booking process is automated. And so it was a one-time setup, a one-time time investment. And we do this for a lot of our clients too. So I don't have to ever remember to do that. No invoices are falling through the cracks because when a client signs a contract, I'm setting it up in the system and it's all done automatically. So in a lot of times for a lot of my clients, even before they even hire, maybe if they've already hired, we're able to fill a whole role with automation.
Yeah, if anyone is using any kind of automation tools currently that we didn't mention, let us know in the chat. We want to know what you're using. Okay, documentation. So prep work is the best work. I know we keep saying this is what you need, and this is what you need, and this is what you need. SOPs along with time tracking is going to be one of the best tools overall for your business. I personally like to keep it very, very simple in a Google Doc. It should be easy to access for you and as well as for your team. It should be easy to edit because you don't want to take too much time to write down your processes. So some of you may also be thinking, again, I'm a one-woman show or one-man show. Why do I need to write everything down if I already know how to do everything in my business? Well, all of these systems and all of these tools that we're talking about, they are inevitably going to lead you to growth, right? So you may need to outsource and you may need to hire. And this is going to be your playbook to say, this is how I like things done inside of my business, and this is how I want you to do it.
Yeah, and I think so often, writing SOPs for clients, which if you don't know what an SOP is, it's essentially just a detailed process document, stands for standard operating procedure. But writing an SOP in the actual act of like writing it and auditing your process and saying, why do you do this? And does your ideal client actually align with the way you do this? That is almost just as powerful as a finished SOP. So if it doesn't make sense for you to work with someone like myself, a consultant, to help you write these, you really want to make sure you're at least having a designer friend or maybe just a personal friend that's your ideal client read through your SOPs or walk through your process with you, because sometimes we're just so deep in our own businesses, we really can't get that 10,000-foot view from up above. And we really need someone to hold up a mirror to our process and our business and kind of challenge us and be like, well, why do you do things this way? And a lot of times they'll be like, well, this is why. And it's like, oh, great. Right. But sometimes we need to make tweaks, and there's a lot of ways that we can streamline things, automate things, and make things more efficient and ultimately more aligned with our ideal client, which helps us in times of economic uncertainty to spend any free time we have really making sure that we can control the controllables in our business. And our process is definitely one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go through just three areas that I like to focus on first when I'm putting together SOPs for my clients. I don't want to overwhelm you with all of the things. You definitely need more than just this, but these are the three that I really like to focus on. So the first being proposing. And I'm talking about item proposals, not necessarily how you, like when you meet with a client and you say, hey, this is going to be the overall project. This is, you're already inside of the project. Now you need to actually send them the estimate for what everything is going to cost. So this is going to be writing down every single step for how and what you want your clients to view and how that information is going to interact with them. So I used to work for a designer who did not like to show the price per quantity because she thought that the client would be more likely to reject an item if the cost per item was high. Right. So I'm not saying that she was right, but that was her preference, and I will never forget it because it was written in her SOP. So that's just, one of the ways that someone likes to do things. Purchasing. So what steps do you like to take to ensure that the purchasing process is going to go absolutely seamlessly? And this could be, again, going into the process of taking that information and putting it into ClickUp. What information you want to see, because the purchasing process is so important. You're dealing with thousands, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars of product, and you want to make sure that everything is going to get done exactly how you like to have it done. And again, like Brooke said, you may be relaying this information over to your purchaser, and they may say, hey, this is great. Could we add this step in? This might be really good for you. So again, really good to have it written down. So important. And then the last thing, bookkeeping, which we've mentioned many times. So your bookkeeper really should kind of help you in writing down the processes, see if they will take an hour out of their day to sit down and write exactly what they're doing in your business, if, how they're reconciling items, and even sometimes they'll recommend specific markups and tax information that needs to be put in, because you never know. You may switch services. You may want to work with someone else. And if you start working with a new person and you can give them a playbook for exactly how your business works, then you're going to be saving so much time later on.
Yeah. And if writing SOPs feels extremely overwhelming, which for a lot of people it is, I'm one of the funky ones that enjoys it and does it for a living. hop on over to my Instagram. On my Instagram feed, I have 4 different feed posts. It's totally a free resource. And I've broken it out into onboarding, design, procurement, project management, and offboarding. And there's a list of like 10 to 14 line items of what I include in these SOPs. And those can be used as kind of a guideline when you're writing your own SOPs.
And if anyone does have written SOPs, put a 1 in the chat because I'm really curious how many of you are writing down your processes. Okay, so this is kind of this is a funny quote because it's by The Rock, but we loved it so much. Success isn't always about greatness, it's about consistency. Consistent work leads to success. Greatness will come. And I wholeheartedly believe this. You just got to keep going even during economic uncertainty, even when you just feel like you cannot go on. You just need to make sure that you are doing things as consistently as you possibly can to reach that success.
Yeah, I think consistency and stability could be synonyms, if not at least sisters. But right, I think a lot of times in our business and in our life, we'll be doing something for 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, whether it's working out or, hopping on Instagram to talk to your potential clients. I'm like, oh, we're not seeing results, or oh, it's not working. But sometimes we just need to be consistent, right? Sometimes we just need to keep on going. And a lot of that comes with strategy, right? How do we know when to stop? How do we know when to keep going? And sometimes strategy can feel a little bit like throwing pasta against a wall to create stability. But we're going to talk a little bit about that next, of how to know when to do what in your business. So Dalia told us what we need, right? We need systems, we need SOPs, beautiful process documents. We need to understand our time. Oh, Dalia, you went out of full screen.
All right, yeah, I just realized
Oh,
that.
you're fine. So we are going to talk about how to apply this, right? How to use all of this in your business to create the stability that we so all want and need. And Zora, I love your comment. I cannot imagine running this business and functioning in general without SOPs. I completely feel the same way. It's almost like once you have them, you can't imagine your life without them. So how to apply this? The first thing that we are going to talk about, if you'll click through that for me, Dalia. Thank you. Financial reporting. I know you guys all got really excited when you saw financial reporting, and everyone loves the P&L. I was on a call with one of my clients the other day, and we were supposed to meet with their bookkeeper after to go over their P&Ls, and the bookkeeper had to cancel. She had something come up, and I was like, oh, what a bummer. And they're like, oh, thank God. I don't know why you always get so excited about these P&L meetings. I love a P&L. A P&L is, think about it as your firm's financial report card, right? How is your firm doing? If you guys feel confident reading and understanding your P&L, raise your hand in the chat. And it's okay if there's 5 people, if there's 0 people, if there's 50 people that raise their hand, because reading a P&L is overwhelming, right? And if you have a great bookkeeper, they can hopefully bridge that gap for you and help you understand. And I'm seeing no hands raised, so I'm going to try to mystify it. Okay, we've got one.
We got one.
So I'm going to try to demystify this a little bit for you guys and tell you a little bit some higher overarching things of how you can personally gut check the financial health of your business. Because even if you have an amazing bookkeeper, I think financial confidence and clarity in your business leads to so much stability. So when you look at your P&L, your income should be in 2 categories, right? You should have services income, which is design fees, and then you should have product income, right? Now, even if you are also getting affiliate income, or maybe you're doing speaking gigs, or you have a retail store, any of that, that's great, right? That's secondary income. But right now, today, I want to talk about services income and product income, right? Those should be your 2 main categories of income. If you do not have your income broken out into those 2 categories, that is something you definitely want to do. You don't want to see all of your income in one category. We want to understand where income is coming from. The second thing we want to look at is your cost of goods sold, right? So we have all of your income, and then we want to subtract your cost of goods sold, and that's going to give us your gross profit, right? Cost of goods sold is just generally, straightforwardly put, the money that we are spending to buy the goods that our clients are paying us for, right? So if I buy something for 4 hands for $100, but the client paid me $200, my cost of goods sold would be $100. So my gross profit would be $100 on that good, right? So that's our gross profit. And when I think about gross profit versus net profit, I think about gross as like it's this grossly big number, right? It's before we take out all of our expenses, right? So there's something called a gross profit margin. And if you don't know how to calculate your gross profit margin, it's super easy, but I'm not going to make you guys do any math. Just upload it to ChatGPT and say, what is my gross profit margin? A financially healthy firm, an interior design firm. Now, I'm making a hasty generalization here. Of course, there's a lot of different things that could be going on in your firm, but I want to see your gross profit margin at around 50%. right? I've seen firms go up into the low 60s and I've seen firms all the way low in like the teens, right? But a healthy interior design firm on a gross profit level should be around 50%, okay? So that's a quick gut check health on your profitability. If it is not, it generally means that our markup is off. Okay, that's generally it, or we're just not charging enough in design fees. One of those two, but it's generally markup. So the next thing you're going to see on your P&L is all your expenses, right? Everything that it costs to run your firm. And at the end of all of those expenses is going to be your net profit. So basically, what money do you still have left after you pay for your cost of goods and you pay for everything it costs to run your business? Another good indicator of financial health in a business or in an interior design firm specifically is your services income covering your operating expenses? So if you make $200,000 on design services and your operating expenses are $160,000, that's amazing. You're running a net positive. You are covering all of your firm's overhead with just your services. And that means that your product markup, your minus your cost of goods sold is just, or excuse me, really your product revenue minus your cost of goods sold. So your product markup gets to be all profit, right? So there's also some other firms where we will not cover like marketing, business development, travel to High Point Market, travel to things like design camp with service revenue, right? But we want to make sure that our service revenue covers all of our necessary operating expenses. So that's our payroll, our rent, our studio designer subscription, right? Our business insurance, our bookkeeper. If our services are not covering those, we've got to trim. We've got to cut. That's something's not, the math is not mathing, right? It's never going to be pretty. And then at the bottom, you're going to see your net profit. Stick with me. I'm almost through with this. Okay. At the bottom, you're going to see your net profit and your net profit percentage. We usually want it to be around 20%. If it's a lot higher than 20%, that's usually a general indication that it's time to start outsourcing. It's time you can afford to start outsourcing more. If it's a little bit below 20%, that's fine. If it's 3%, we've got some issues we need to cut. But those are just some very general ways to gut check the financial health of your business, right? Okay, so maybe we want to dig a little bit deeper. And I know you guys are like, no, we don't want to dig any deeper, but I'm going to tell you how to dig any deeper. Okay, so next we're going to look at, the other financial reporting we want to look at in our business. And an amazing thing about Studio is, in my opinion, Studio has the best reporting out of any financial software in this industry, right? All the other softwares in this industry are usually QuickBooks-based softwares. QuickBooks is great. Studio has way more reports, and Studio can also do custom reports, which is awesome. If you are overwhelmed with, the outcome you want, you don't know how to run the report in Studio, reach out to Studio support. They're super helpful with that. Will this be in a form we can follow after for us super newbies? This is being recorded, Lisa, so you will get the recording. But if anything feels confusing, Dalia and I's information is going to be at the end. You can always send me an email or an Instagram DM, and I'd be happy to help. So Dalia, if you click next, we're going to look at vendor and project profitability, right? So when we want to create stability in our business, and especially in economic uncertainty when times are hard, every single dollar counts, right? So once we've audited our P&L, once we've seen everything that's going on our P&L, we want to look more into our income categories, right? Where is our money coming from? So vendor profitability, right? What vendors are we the most profitable on? Now, I am not a huge fan of like disclosing markup to clients for my clients. So, some people will write, we're a cost plus 30 firm, which works for some people, right? This all goes back to your ideal client and your version of success, like we talked about in the beginning. But generally speaking, I like people to not disclose a markup. And that way we can be more strategic about what vendors we shop from and what vendors we work with, because they can drive more revenue for our firm, right? And also at the end of every year, I want you guys to all be running a report to see what your spend per vendor was. And at least your top five vendors, if not more, go to them and be like, hey, we spent $50,000 with you in the past 12 months. We would love to continue to deepen our relationship with you guys, and we love working with you. Is there any way we could explore a higher discount tier? Right? Sometimes all we have to do is ask. The other thing is project profitability. So what projects are we the most profitable on? Is it renovations? Usually it's furnishings, but is it renovations? Is it furnishings? Is it bathrooms? Like, what's worth our time and what isn't? This is how we start to develop room minimums and investment minimums and all of that stuff. And if you're like, Brooke, how do I even calculate project profitability, right? Studio has great reports for that. Again, you can always reach out to them and they will ask. If that feels overwhelming or maybe you're not in Studio, I partnered with the Identity Collective and Renee Bush at Tandem. We put together an end of project review spreadsheet where you put in all your data at the end of a project and you can see apples to apples which projects are the most profitable. And if you're interested in that, shoot me a message and I can send you the link to purchase that.
That'd be good for someone who's using QuickBooks, right? Can you take your information from QuickBooks and plug it into?
Yeah, but the great thing about the end of project review sheet too is it's going to take things into play like project square footage and your non-billable hours expense and all of that stuff as well. All right, next. So we've got our finances, we understand the financial health of our firm, and we've maximized our project and vendor profitability. Then we're going to talk about KPIs, key performance indicators. What KPIs are you guys tracking in your business? Pop it in the chat. There's 3 big categories of KPIs that we track: financial, social, or marketing, and written KPIs. Anybody tracking KPIs in their business? If so, raise your hand in the chat if you're tracking KPIs in your business.
Or working with someone who is helping.
Oh yeah. Or even using a system to track your KPIs too. Lori, I love it. You're so on top of it. So KPIs are your key performance indicators. Think of this as another report card for your business, right? So when I'm working with a client and we first start working together, they have goals, right? The first thing I need to do to understand goals is I need to start gathering all their data, right? If they already have a lot of that data in one place, do you know how much easier it is to analyze it and make strategic recommendations? And you can totally use KPIs as like a compass to implement strategy in your business. So financial KPIs, this is basically the high level things that are on your P&L, right? So your gross revenue, your net revenue, how much does it cost to operate your firm on a monthly basis? That's really important, right? So your financial KPIs are essentially just a snapshot of your P&L on a monthly basis. And I always like to say too, and I wanted to point this out, I like to look at interior design firms' income on a quarterly basis, not a monthly basis, especially if you're using Studio Designer or an accrual-based system. So you can, basically account for your money in 2 different ways. Cash, which means that when you get the cash, you account for it, or accrual. So usually accrual is when it's invoiced. So like when we install, the whole full home, that's when we're going to account for that goods income. So we're going to see more variability in our income. So I like to look at quarterly rather than monthly, just because I think it's a little bit easier for design firms. And then next after financial is your marketing or social KPIs, right? So especially when we're trying to create stability in our business and especially when leads are a little dry, we need to understand where are our best leads coming from? Where is our best bang for our buck, right? Where should we be putting our time and investing our energy and resources into marketing? So your marketing or social KPIs, it depends on what platforms you are and if you're investing in PR, what your goals are, but generally people are tracking like website KPIs. So like website traffic, visitors, inquiries, leads, proposals sent, proposals signed, all of your social media. So if you're doing Instagram, if you're doing Pinterest, like how many posts did you put up? What's your engagement rate, right? All of that stuff. If you are investing in PR, we want to know like how many projects did you pitch this month? How many press hits did you land? What about if you have like outlet that you want to go after, like you just want to be in House Beautiful so bad, like how many times did you pitch to House Beautiful? How many times did House Beautiful respond? How many landed with House Beautiful, right? So like your KPI should be niche based on your goals and what you're going after. And I want to make a point, I might have mentioned this earlier, that whenever we are making changes in our marketing, it often takes 3 to 6 months to see the rewards of that marketing, right? So like if I am heavily investing in Instagram, it may take 3 or 6 months to start seeing that investment in Instagram to show up in my pipeline, and then maybe even longer to show up in my financials.
I have a question that no one's asked yet. What if you're not actually spending any money on marketing and a lot of your leads are coming from word of mouth?
Ooh, I love this question, right? So that's a KPI we want to track. That's a data point, right? So how many leads are we getting? how many of those leads, what percentage of those leads are coming from word of mouth? Is it the same source, right? Is it like one incredible client? Is it one amazing builder? Where is that coming from? That tells us when leads get drier or when we need to be more strategic or when we need to create a more stable pipeline. We want to go invest with that person. We want to take them out to dinner. We want to maybe come up with a referral strategy for them so they get paid out for their time, right? We want to honor that relationship.
Yeah. Great.
And then written KPIs, okay? We are all human. And sometimes our finances look great and our pipeline looks great, but we're not happy. That matters, right? That matters maybe more than the finances, right? So our written KPIs should be things like, what was their biggest win this month? What was our biggest lesson learned? Who on our team maybe deserves extra recognition this month? Are there any changes we need to make to our processes or to our contract? And Dalia pointed out something really great, that her and I are both big believers in manifestation. Okay. Going back to a little bit of woo woo, but like, what is our biggest goal for this year? Maybe we reiterate that in our KPIs, right? Start putting it in front of us, putting it out into the universe. Your written KPI should really be a time for you to sit with yourself every month and be like, how am I feeling? What's going on in my business? Okay. Last but not least, we've got all of our finances. We're feeling good about our finances. We've maximized our profitability. We know what's going on in our business. Now we can implement it. Now we can start making data-driven decisions in our business. Okay. So a data-driven decision in our business would be like, and feel free to pop in any questions you have in the chat about this, but hey, leads are dry. What do we do? What I would do is I would look at your marketing KPIs, right? I would look at where our best leads are coming from. So oftentimes we'll think of like, oh, I get all my leads from Instagram, or I get 80% of my leads from Instagram. Well, what about the ones that convert? Maybe 80% of your converting leads are actually coming from builders. What about your leads that are over $1 million budget? Where are those leads coming from, right? So sometimes we have to dig a little bit deeper into the data. Other data-driven decision-making, maybe times are tough and we need to cut, right? We need to.
Sorry, can I interrupt you? Because I want to go back to written KPIs for a second and just talk about like goal setting and how important it is to go back and look at your written KPIs, because right now you may be feeling like I'm not where I'm supposed to be, I'm not where I need to be. And then you look back at your written KPIs and you say, oh, wait, I've actually done 3 of 5 of these things and there's just 2 more. So maybe I should add on to these written KPIs to reflect what it is that I'm feeling now versus what I was feeling then, and then take a moment to celebrate those wins, because we as humans don't do that enough, especially as entrepreneurs and business owners.
Yeah, we're always moving the finish line, right?
Yeah.
And also you guys, I think too, I want to circle back to that version of success. Sometimes our version of success is, making $250,000 take home at the end of the day and working 20 hours a week. That sounds like a pretty beautiful firm to me. It doesn't have to be the book deal. It doesn't have to be, the shiny placement in House Beautiful. It doesn't have to be 100,000 Instagram followers. What's going to make you the most happy at the end of the day? And that's what your version of success should be. And that's what you should be using all of this to help create stability towards that version of success. And then where to cut versus where to spend, right? So when times are tough, when dollars are tight, where do we invest and where do we cut? All of this can help you make that decision, right? So asking yourself questions like, are my design fees covering all of my operating expenses, right? That will help us decide if we need to cut. Are my biggest leads coming from places that I don't have the time, the expertise, or the access? Maybe it's PR, right? Or the access to invest in. Do I need to spend there? Do I need to get an outsider's perspective on my business? Do I just not know where to go? It's okay to raise your hand. It's okay to need help, right? We wanted to share all this today to talk about creating stability in your business, right? And sometimes I think so often the designers that I see that have the most stability in their business are consistent, but they're also not afraid to ask for help, right? We're not good at everything. I just moved into a new house and it's great, but you guys, I am not a designer. I had to phone a friend. I had to bring in the big guns, right? That's not my zone of genius. And honestly, it's not a good use of my time either, because it's not my strength and I'm not going to be happy with the outcome either. We all know this, right? That is your expertise. That is what you do. So if you guys are just feeling like, oh, all this sounds so great, but I don't even know where to start. Like times are tough, leads are slow, or, oh my gosh, you're right. I just pulled up my P&L. My expenses are way higher. What do I do next? Like, We are here to help. Please reach out to us. This is Dalia and I's specialty, but also community is really important. And a lot of times too, maybe your design friend down the street is doing great and they can refer you some of the leads that aren't a good fit for them, right?
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes when times get tough is when we get to be the most strategic and creative in our businesses. And even though it might feel like it's not the greatest, sometimes it's like when push comes to shove is when we get to create our best business yet.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think also when times get tough, it's a natural instinct to become kind of insular and separate from your community. And that is the most important time to find your community, to be vulnerable and share and find your people, because you may be surprised. The designer next door who looks like she has everything together is struggling also and just putting on a really brave face. So reach out to your people for sure.
Yeah. So
Somebody
let us
asked,
ask questions. Yeah, go ahead.
somebody asked a question. I would love to know how many of these systems people pay for monthly. Asana, Harvest, Studio Designer, Design Files, do you use them all? And I want to go back to what you were saying about where to cut versus where to spend. Some people may be paying $1,000 a month on all of these programs, where other people are paying $100 a month. It's all relative, right? You want to spend as much as your business allows in order to do what works for you, right? Maybe you don't need Asana and Harvest, or maybe you don't need Design Files and Asana. You just have to figure out what works for you. And if you can't, right, work with someone who can help you. Reach out to your friends, reach out to other designers. What are they using? What works for them? Why does it work for them? Because what works for you is not going to work for everyone else.
Yeah. And Meredith asked a question as well. And guys, feel free to pop in some questions in the chat. Where do you see the easiest way for designers to cut operating costs to be more lean? And then what should they be reviewing quarterly to ensure, as an example, maybe they aren't paying for two softwares that do the same thing? The easiest way to stay lean, to cut operating costs, like I said, usually a studio and payroll are your two biggest line items for operating expenses. A lot of times a studio, and I've had clients who we've had to cut their studio. Sometimes that feels like a big success mile marker, like, oh, I've got a studio. But it's like, is the overhead actually bringing you joy? Or do you need that separation of work life and home life, right? Is there a lesser expensive studio? But then also sometimes too, it's like, I had this conversation on a consulting call this morning with the designer. It's like her senior designer, in my opinion, is stronger in one area than another. So it makes more sense to move her to contract hourly and just leverage her strengths, right? So sometimes we have to get a little bit creative with our team too. So those are the two biggest operating expenses I see us cutting to make a little bit more lean. And
that hits really close to home because as you can see, I have this beautiful studio and a team that works remotely. So we are trying to figure out, is this something that we need, or should I be working from home? But I'm never giving this place up. So I'm going to try it from my cold dead hands.
Yeah. And then the other question was, what should people be reviewing quarterly to ensure that maybe they aren't paying for two softwares? So yeah, review your expenses, but don't just review like your softwares. I want you to click into your softwares and make sure that you're reviewing them on a quarterly basis. This also doesn't have to be you. Like if you have an ops person on your team, if you have a project manager, that could be something that they're auditing as well. But also sometimes too, like your insurance or your Wi-Fi or your cell phone bill, if it starts creeping up, call them and be like, hey, I'm going to switch if you guys can't, give me a better price. So sometimes that's a great thing to do as well.
Call them out on it. I'm jumping in for a hot minute.
I love it.
So there are also a few questions in the Q&A box at the bottom too. I just want to make sure you guys saw that down there.
Yes.
And I am loving all of the chat. Like I've hosted, I think, since I've been on board, I think 3, and this is the liveliest chat I think I've seen. So go you guys.
Yay.
Yeah. And as we continue to dive into the Q&A, I'm just going to launch a quick poll for everybody. It's just if you'd like to learn more about how Studio Designer can help you with your task management and all of those P&Ls and everything that was talked about today, Or if you'd like to connect further with Brooke or Dalia, it's basically just like, let us know, because then we'll get, directly in touch with you. And as you're answering that, I'll hand the Zoom back over to Dalia and Brooke, and we don't have a time limit, so you guys can continue to chat and answer questions as long as you've got the energy to. So yeah, I'll pop back in when it seems like we're winding down again.
Perfect.
Thank you, Helena. I really want to answer this question. I need so much help as I've created my own systems with Canva, Google Docs, invoice system, built my business as a learn as you go. But once I say I need help, I will likely find myself paying all of my profit away to get help from what I have learned in the last 18 months to where I need to be. A lot of what I'm hearing, I'm thinking, shoot, I'm way off. Even if I'm definitely profitable, I'm not finding organized and repeatable systems. I want to kind of answer this simply. Like sometimes you need to have less systems. Sometimes we have too many. I've worked with designers in the past who are even more organized than I am, which when it comes to programs and systems, like I'm very, very organized. But they were so organized and so structured and had so much information that their team could not keep up. And they were constantly changing those programs and systems. Sometimes, again, this goes back to consistency. Just be consistent with the things that are working, right? So if you're using Canva and Google Docs and an invoicing system, could you be using Dubsado that has all of that together? Or could you be using just Google Docs along with, I shudder to say this, I was going to say along with slides, but I actually prefer Canva, and there are times when sometimes you just have to, piecemeal some of your programs together. Again, this is where writing it down comes in very handy, because then you can say, look, I know these are a lot of programs. These are the reasons why we use them. Understanding why you're using these programs is important for you. It's also important to the person that you're handing it off to. And, if you're saying, even if I am definitely profitable, you're saying that you're going to be paying all of your profits away to get help. I would love to dig into that a little bit deeper, because why would you be paying your profit off, if you can find someone who is helping to generate revenue for you?
Yeah. And feel free to reach out to Dalia or I directly. We'd love to chat with you, but I think that, yeah, this is definitely something I'd love to dive more into. Because you said, once I say I need help, I would like to find myself paying away all my profit. I think that there's a lot of things that you can learn out there, right? Nothing we told you guys today was probably like, oh my God, I've never heard that before. But when you pay a consultant, when you hire somebody to do something for you, you're often paying away that learning curve, right? So when I work with a client, maybe they could do a lot of what we do together on their own, but what would have taken them a year, 2 years, 3 years to complete, we're able to complete in 6 months. Right. And so sometimes it's not about like trading time for money. It's like, what is your time worth? What is your sanity worth? Do you have 3 years to learn it all? Do you have the time to do it all? Or is it better to pay the expert to do it? And that way you can focus on generating profit in the areas that you're best at, and someone else can, kind of like you have to pay to grow a little bit sometimes. Like, can we put that profit, can we pay those funds towards someone to help you with these things? Because with that time of you not doing that, you are able to focus on bringing in more profit to the business.
Yep. Got to spend
But I
money.
think it also all goes back to the first question of what kind of firm do you want to grow, right? So, and what Dalia said, are your systems good enough, or are they causing you so much friction? And are you closing your eyes at night and you're thinking about all those systems and things that are falling through the cracks? So is it worth it to invest? One other question I wanted to ask, or excuse me, wanted to answer was what AI tools are you using? Dalia is a mastered AI. She's actually talking about AI at a retreat in October that Meredith Huck, House of Huck, is hosting. And I think there's still a few seats left. If anyone's interested, you can shoot us a message and we'll send you the information. But Dalia is amazing at AI.
Yeah, so I have a lot of different AI tools that I use. So, I am using ChatGPT along with the rest of the world. I have tested out Claude a number of times. I keep coming back to ChatGPT, and they tell you, input versus output, right? You're going to get out of it what you put into it. You have to train it. You have to do all of those things. Something that I have absolutely been loving with ChatGPT in conjunction with SOPs is creating a custom GPT for my clients. So if I'm working on SOPs, I can take all of that information, put it into GPT that is customized to their company, and one of their employees can go in, type, hey, how do I ask for time off? Or what is my benefits package? How long do I have to wait to do A, B, and C? And it will give you the answer back because you've already given the information to it. You know, this is for people who maybe find going through a document really overwhelming, and, you know, everybody has different learning styles. So I love doing that. The other thing that I really, really love is an automated calendar system. So I use a calendar called Reclaim AI in conjunction with ClickUp and Google Calendar. What I love about it is, you know, when you're kind of going through your task list and you're like, I should put this into my calendar to time block, but then you get to that time and you're like, I don't have time to do this. I didn't calculate this correctly. So now what? Now I got to take it. I got to move it. Reclaim will move it to another time slot for you. So if you haven't physically clicked it off of your checklist and said, oh, I did this already, it's going to move it to another time slot, and it's going to assign a specific amount of time for it. I've created a system within ClickUp where I can just go through my entire to-do list and decide what I'm going to add to my Reclaim calendar. And that, I mean, I could talk about that all day long, but
there's also another one that a client told me about the other day that I actually haven't used yet called EverHour. It's a time tracking system, but it has AI integration. I have not had a chance to use it yet, but that's another good one for anybody that's interested.
Big advocates for AI over here. It's
We love
something
AI.
yeah, and it's something that I've also really encouraged my team to dive into. I've told them, like, use it like Google, ask it anything and everything that you need, help us become more efficient for our clients.
Yeah. Does anyone have any other questions? We're going to answer Lisa's question and then we'll hop off if nobody else has anything. Lisa said, I've been using PayBright, which I'm not familiar with that platform, but it's just an invoicing, great for tracking and can be paid through it, but nobody wants to pay a credit card fee and it won't break down a year-end summary. It just needs to get paid. Lisa, I would probably say that I would say like different level. One of my good friends, Renee, says different level, different devil. Sounds like it's maybe time for a little bit different, a little bit more robust system. The second part of your question was, is QuickBooks a stronger program, but looking for a comprehensive program, which I thought House Pro would be. Studio might be a great fit for you. MyDoma might be a great fit for you. Maybe I would raise your hand and they could send you some more information on Studio. There's so many programs out there and it's really hard to find the one that's the right fit for you, but Dalia and I both specialize in that. So Lisa, if you want to shoot Dalia or I a message, we could kind of talk through this with you as well. But it sounds like it might be better time for something a little bit more robust so you can get features to that, the tracking year-end summary, and then also the credit card fee. Raise your hand in the chat if you pay credit card fees for your client. And put an exclamation point in the chat if you pass along credit card fees to the client, because this is,
be careful here though too, because all states are different. What you
that
can
is true.
pass.
All states are different. So I'm seeing a lot of exclamation points, which means that a lot of people are passing along credit card fees to their client. Meredith, yes, your state doesn't allow passing on the fee. Lori doesn't take credit cards. Renee doesn't take credit cards. Kate said she has to pay it because she can't pass along, but I'm seeing a lot of exclamation points. That's another great thing to talk through is like, do you even want to take credit cards? Do you want to pass along credit cards? That's a great conversation. It's a very personal decision. I know for me and my business, I absorb my clients' bank transfer fees. I pay those, but if they want to pay for it by credit card, they pay those fees. And that's generally what I see people doing. However, it really depends on your ideal client. Kind of goes back to what kind of firm you want to have and your brand strategy as well.
Somebody asked, doesn't Studio Designer basically do what all of these separate apps are doing? It depends. It depends on the app, right? So I cannot integrate Studio into my calendar. And I cannot automate my emails in Studio, for example. But yeah, I mean, Studio does have a lot of capabilities when it comes to task organization. Again, going back to that task management program, I like to get a notification, you know, and I like to see it in my inbox, and that's how I like to communicate with my team. But if you don't need that, then you can absolutely use Studio Designer for probably 85 to 90% of what you need.
Yeah, and I think it's personal. It is very personal to what you need. And sometimes I know Studio is also always coming out with different features and always improving too, just like all systems. But one system can't be everything as much as I wish it could. And if I could build platforms, maybe I would create one. But I think it all depends on your personal business and what you need. But always ask yourself, like, is this causing me friction? If it's causing friction, I need a solution. If it's not causing friction, stick with the solution you already have.
I so badly want to answer every single one of these. Do we have time for one?
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
time. Yeah, go for it.
Um,
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks for all the answers. Also curious if people have found a way to get receiving warehouses to keep you updated on quality of items arriving. Wish there was a way to get those answers in sync without having to email. Honestly, the best receiving warehouses that we work with have their own portals. And it's really easy to use. So it's going to be a case by case basis depending on what warehouse you work with. And if there's a warehouse in your area that is using technology to keep you abreast of the situation. But again, going back to ClickUp, we have a really great system in there where, once we get notified that something is at the warehouse, we're updating it in ClickUp. We're adding photos if it comes in damaged, updating the status if it needs to be repaired or sent back, so on and so forth. But
this also goes back to your process. Sometimes you have to train your receiver, unfortunately. And I have some clients that have opened their own receiving warehouses because it's been such a pain. And there are great receivers out there, but part of your process may be that when you know that an item has arrived, your team has to ask for pictures. And some people don't automatically give pictures. You have to ask. So sometimes it is on you to push. Dalia and Brooke, what's one software your clients shouldn't live without? Okay, let's end on that. Do you want to go first, Dalia?
I mean, a project management system, period. Or an accounting system, right? So if it's Studio or if it's QuickBooks, pick one. You have to track your data.
Yeah, I would say a system for money, right? It's so important. Please do not be sending Word doc invoices and be collecting Venmo. It's such a mess. If you invest in one thing, let it be a bookkeeper and an invoicing system, because the money of it all is so, so important. And, you have to pay taxes. Unfortunately, we all have to pay taxes, right? And so if you were to get audited, whatever it may be, you want to make sure that your finances are really tight and organized. But we really appreciate you guys asking so many questions, and I'm sure we missed some. So feel free to reach out to us directly, because we would love to chat with you all. And I wish we could just stay on forever and chat. But we will also both be at that retreat that I mentioned. And we'd love to meet you guys in person too some days.
And we have you flagged for Fall High Point as well.
Yeah, I didn't know if we should share that yet or not.
It's official. We're doing it, but it's yeah, you're right. It's not advertised yet. So you guys have a sneak peek. So yeah, keep an eye out on our socials for Fall High Point.
Yeah.
With Luann actually moderating. So yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, and Duval Reynolds.
And Duval, yes.
Yeah, and he is amazing on a panel. So if any of you are at Fall Market, please come hang out with us. We're going to be talking all about the business of design.
Yes, it's going to be cool. And I actually also, because when you mentioned Duval, I went and looked through his socials and I was like, oh, this is going to be an entertaining panel. So yeah, it's going to be good. So with that, thank you both for this really amazing session. I think that everybody got probably more than maybe what they expected today, because I know I did. I was like, PNL, all right, what's going on? And I think we all heard how critical it is to put the right systems, software, and strategies into place to create true stability in your own design business. And that's why Studio Designer, alongside our sister platform, MyDoma, partners with leading experts like Brooke and Dalia to bring you empowering webinars and in-person events. Together, we're committed to giving interior designers the tools, strategies, and inspiration to manage projects, streamline financials, and grow with confidence. So on behalf of our entire team and from Brooke and Dalia, thank you again for joining us. And we can't wait to see you at the next Work of Design live webinar or in person at any of these events we just chatted about. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having us. Bye, guys. We know how important your time is, so we appreciate you taking an hour or so out of your busy day and spending it with us.